I get asked this question a lot, so let's set the record straight. Why ducks? Why ducks? Have you seen a duck? That's why. A ruminator is a multi-stomached animal, and the animal goes out and grazes, let's say in a pasture. Frequently they're grass-eating animals, and they eat the grass, but it's hard to process the nutrients in grass with just one stomach. So what these ruminators do is that they chew on the grass and it goes into their first stomach, and then it goes through this cycle of regurgitating that grass and chewing on it more, and then going back into another stomach where finally it processes through the system. Thinking about that in regards to like my art making process, you know, I'll come here and I'll draw a duck, and then, you know, those little post-it notes, they can sit in the journal for years before I'm bringing that back out in the studio and rearranging it, redrawing it, probably painting it a couple times. The process of like revisiting these small collected things. Let's take the elevator. I really like creating those like situations where it's like, I've come to do this. It's like kind of that ball of energy around making, where I think I just like kind of setting myself up. By doing it, you're not failing. And that's like such a huge relief. Retranslation. And I hope there would be a rainbow over it as well. I set up a still life a couple years ago, and it had a plaster foot in it. And this is a human cast plaster foot. So it looks like a real human foot. I drew this on these little post-it notes over and over again, probably 20 times. So I've got the human plaster foot. Now I've got 20 to 30 little post-it note drawings of this plaster foot. I then made probably, I don't know, several gouache paintings, small ones, of the plaster foot, based off of the drawings, mind you. I don't have this plaster foot. I don't know where it is. It's gone. Then off of those gouache drawings, I did a fabric piece based off of the gouache drawings of the plaster foot, which, as you remember, were based off of the post-it drawings. Okay, so now we're at the fabric piece. That was kind of a hand-dyed and collaged fabric piece. And then I did an oil painting. Again, more based off of the gouaches, but still. It's still all about this plaster foot. And now we get to, you're here with me today, and we have another plaster foot. I've brought it back around. Again, this plaster foot is based off of the post-it note drawings, off of the fabric piece. All of it's informing sort of this new form of the human foot. And if you think that looks like a real human foot, I don't know if it really does, but you do get the idea. They have really nicely spaced toes. And who knows, like this might again come back around into little drawings. And I think the longing also might have been a desire to paint like I did as a child. I think a lot of artists that I really like probably feel this way. With the sort of playfulness, the freedom, the narrative that you have in your head when you're painting as a kid, when you're drawing as a kid, and just like really wanting to tap into that. And there's a lot of sound, noise coming in as you get older. That's a drawing falling. The making is like this weird telescopic or like kaleidoscope thing of me looking at myself making, at me looking at myself making, at me looking at myself making. And that might have to do also with this like revisiting my own work over and over again. Is like, I think it just has more to do with being a curious person and making and just making sure like this ball of energy keeps moving forward, that you keep making. like if I stop it, it will stop. And that's terrible. That's terrifying to me. Like I have to keep making. That's what's cool to me about making. I think it's a bit of like a metal detector out there in the world of just like, who's drawn to this? And like, you know, it's not about trying to collect every possible viewer and have everyone like it. But it's also not about being abrasive and scaring people away. This is a good example, I feel like, of sort of the process starts as just like a simple outline, and then it really is just like, I really wanted this mint green up against this mustard yellow, and like the line work of like creating shadow and form with the like vibrant color palette is really a bit of an obsession, I think. I kind of was like, well, I put all this effort into thinking about it this way. Could I like translate it one more time? Could I retranslate it one more time, but without all of these layers? Yeah, actually they are. Yeah, I just kind of, when I made these ones, the little ones, I was looking at them and I was like, man, I just want to see them as like posters almost. But I didn't just want to scan them in and print them. So that's why I just painted them like poster size. Human form and human limbs has been a really interesting exploration over the last couple of years that I've avoided for a little bit because we're all human and we know when that don't look like a human. And so our radar for when a hand is not right is like, we all have that. That's not just an artist thing, I don't think. Like, we know. It's like trying to condense a journal that you've kept for like 3 years and you're like, okay, what is going, like as I put it together and pull pieces out and rework pieces, for me, the revelation doesn't really happen until I get to see it in the space. Like I'm always, again, it's that narrative of like, I'm projecting out into I'm like, oh yeah, it's gonna look like I'm gonna put that painting over there on that wall and maybe like those drawings will go over there and these forms, that's gonna be really cool, it's gonna feel really cool. And then as I see it all together, then it kind of starts to form a language of what those, because they all kind of feel like characters in a show a little bit every time. They're all very, very much their own entities, and yet together they sort of create this play that then I get I get the privilege of like interpreting, I think. I would give young Emma, the advice I would give young Emma would be, what would I tell her? I don't know. I think she's doing fine. She figured it out. Like, I think that's how I learn is just through messing up and making mistakes, and that is also, again, when I know something's working, is it's just on the verge of being a disaster. Usually what happens is I call my partner and I say, I never want to paint again. And then I go back to the studio and I paint. So I think I'm just really emotionally invested in it, and I think I'm a bit of a teenager with it because it like doubt builds up into it, and sort of it's a bit of a release finally when it does click. Yeah, I am a serious artist.